Alright, high pressure bottle hookup and safety. Whenever we're moving a bottle around, if it doesn't have a regulator, not on a cart, it should have a cap installed. Cap allows us to keep from, if this happens to fall over, strike something else, should keep our valve from breaking off and creating a projectile. So if we're installing a new valve, we're wanting to install a regulator, hook a regulator up, you'll note that this is oxygen. Oxygen bottle is going to have a green line, and so we're going to come up and install on the threads. Anytime you're working with a high pressure bottle, always be careful. You don't want to over tighten everything, you just want it just not to leak. You also want to be careful of and cognizant of the regulator and the gauges. Gauge on this side is for our bottle side. So bottle side is over here, and this is hose side from here. This handle, all it does is control how much pressure is on this side comes onto our hose. You don't want to make any adjustments once it's set up. You want to leave this alone, and then this is your on-off valve. So we're going to tighten this up and check it for leaks. Now, you want to use a non-petroleum based soap to check for leaks, because if we're operating with oxygen, it is a possibility that we could cause a fire anytime oxygen and a petroleum or a flammable come in contact. And so we want to make sure and use Sherlock's leak detector. Works great for checking leaks. So whether we're working with an oxygen bottle for a acetylene rig or working for breathing oxygen, this is what we want to use. So what we're going to do, we're going to apply a little bit here. We're going to take and crack the valve and see if we get any bubbling. Oh, yeah, see, we have a little bubbling going on. So we're going to tighten this down until the bubbles stop. So we're going to double check here. I'm going to go ahead and clean those off, make sure we're free of bubbles. And now we have no bubbles. There's no new bubbles forming. We've only got the old existing bubbles. Once we pop those, we've checked to make sure it's good. So this is a non-petroleum based fluid to do our leak check and inspection with. Alright, so we've turned our oxygen on. We do not, at any point in time, whenever we're turning a high pressure bottle on, we do not want to stand in front of our gauges. We want to step to one side, and we want to be able to see, yep, we're good pressure wise, everything's set up correctly here. Our acetylene has a assembly on it as well. The regulator works the same way. This right here is our flame arrestor. The flame arrestor keeps flame from traveling back down into our bottle if that situation was ever to occur. We do not need to turn these bottles on more than one wrist turn. If you turn them on and just crank the bottles wide open, the problem is if we have an emergency, it's hard to get things to shut off, and so you have to spend a lot of time turning it off, and that person in the emergency may be you, and it's maybe your life that you're saving by not turning this wide open. So we want to make sure that that is utilized. Now, we have two types of handle. Acetylene may have this T-type handle depending on the bottle. So you'll have a T-type, or you'll have a valve similar to this that's sitting down inside. Be careful as you reach in that you don't bump the regulator as you're working. And so you want to operate these bottles correctly. Like I said, high pressure bottle, whether it's acetylene rig, cutting, welding, or it's breathing oxygen, treat them all with the same respect. You want to make sure and use tools that are proper for the job. Don't use dirty tools. We want to make sure and have everything in place. Be careful. One note on acetylene when it comes to hooking up the bottle, the threads are left-hand threads, where a standard right-hand thread is found on oxygen. So it's left-hand threads. So if you try to, what you think is normally loosening, all you're going to do is tighten the bottle. And so that is one thing to take note of. So always look, when you're looking at an acetylene rig, you'll note that the red line feeds to the acetylene, the green line feeds over here to oxygen. And so that lets us know, hey, this is which one valve you're turning on. The valves that correspond with each one are here. Always be cognizant of where you're pointing your torch as you operate. The people that are around you, the work surfaces, all those things are going to be things we need to be cognizant of. Also, when you pressurize, make sure to listen. Listen for leaks. There's times that there may be leaks. We want to double check everything before we're ready to proceed. And that is our safety when it comes to high pressure bottles.